Farmers have tractors powerful enough to pull almost anything. Construction workers have machines that could lift tons. But here's the problem. Those machines were killing people. They were flipping backwards, wasting fuel, and breaking down constantly. Then one engineer figured out something so simple that it changed how we think about every piece of heavy machinery we use today. If you're into engineering that actually matters, hit that subscribe button right now. This is the kind of story they don't teach you in school. So let's go back to the 1920s and 30s. Picture a farmer trying to plow a field. He's got this brand new tractor, right? It's got an engine. It's got power. It's supposed to make his life easier. But here's what's actually happening. The plow is attached to the back of the tractor with basically a glorified chain called a drawbar. It's just dragging behind like you're pulling a sled. And when that plow hits hard soil or catches on a rock, the whole back end of the tractor wants to come up. The front end tips forward. And suddenly, this 2-ton machine is flipping over backwards on top of you. This wasn't rare. This was happening all the time. Farmers were dying. Equipment was getting destroyed. Insurance companies were going bankrupt trying to cover these accidents. It was a nightmare. But even when the tractor didn't flip, you had other problems. See, when you're pulling something heavy behind you with a drawbar, all that weight is pushing down on the rear hitch. That actually lifts weight off the rear wheels, which means less traction. So you're spinning out in soft soil, you're burning through fuel trying to get grip, and you're getting maybe half the work done that you should be getting. It was exhausting, it was dangerous, it was inefficient, and everybody knew it, but nobody had figured out how to fix it. Real quick, if you're learning something here, go ahead and smash that like button. It tells YouTube this is the kind of content you actually want to see. All right, back to the story. This is when Harry Ferguson comes up with the 3-point hitch system. Here's how it works. Instead of one connection point dragging behind the tractor, you've got 3 points of attachment. 2 lower arms on either side and 1 upper link in the middle. Together, they form a triangle. That triangle is rigid. It doesn't flex or bounce or wander around. Now here's where it gets clever. When you lower that plow into the ground and start pulling, the resistance from the soil pushes back, right? But because of that triangular geometry, that pushing force doesn't lift the back of the tractor anymore. Instead, it transfers weight forward onto the rear drive wheels. More weight on the drive wheels means more traction. More traction means more pulling power without adding ballast weights or a bigger engine. You've just made the machine more effective without changing anything about the engine itself. But wait, there's more. Ferguson added hydraulic cylinders to those lower arms. That means you can raise and lower the implement from the driver's seat. No more hopping off to adjust things manually. And here's the genius part. The system has something called draft control. Draft control uses the geometry of those linkage arms to sense resistance. When the plow hits harder soil and starts pulling back, the system automatically lifts it slightly, just enough to maintain the right cutting depth without bogging down the engine. When it hits softer soil, it lowers back down. It's automatic. It's responsive. It's what we'd call smart today, except it's doing it all mechanically with hydraulics and geometry. No computers, no sensors, just pure engineering. Suddenly, your tractor and your plow aren't 2 separate things anymore. They're one integrated system. And that changes everything. Once farmers realized what this system could do, everything exploded. First, you had this massive boom in implement variety. Because the 3-point hitch was standardized, manufacturers could design plows, mowers, seeders, cultivators, whatever, and know they'd work on any tractor with that system. A farmer could swap from plowing to mowing in 10 minutes instead of 2 hours. You could own one tractor and a dozen different tools instead of needing a specialized machine for every single task. Second thing that happened was that small farms became viable again. Before this, if you wanted to do serious farming, you needed a massive, expensive tractor with enough weight and horsepower to muscle through tough jobs. With the 3-point hitch, a lighter, cheaper tractor could handle heavy implements because of that weight transfer I mentioned. Suddenly, you didn't need to be a wealthy landowner to afford mechanization. Regular families could buy in. Third was safety. those rear flip accidents were pretty much gone. The rigid linkage and forward weight transfer meant tractors stayed planted on the ground. Insurance claims dropped. Fewer farmers died or got injured. That alone was worth the price of admission. And fourth, the economics just made sense. Consistent depth control meant less soil damage, which meant healthier crops and better yields. Less fuel wasted spinning wheels. Less time wasted on manual adjustments. Farmers were getting twice the work done in the same amount of time with the same size tractor. By the 1950s, pretty much every major tractor manufacturer had adopted some version of the three-point hitch. Ford, John Deere, International Harvester, they all fell in line. It became the global standard. And once that standardization locked in, the equipment market just exploded. You had hundreds of companies making implements because they knew they'd have a universal market. Now here's where this story gets really interesting. That core logic, the rigid triangular attachment, quick-release connection points, automatic load response, didn't stay in agriculture. Look at a modern skid steer loader on a construction site. You know those compact machines that can swap between a bucket, forks, a trencher, an auger, whatever you need. They use a quick-attach plate system. It's not the exact same as a three-point hitch, but the thinking is identical. Rigid mounting, standardized connection, instant swaps, one machine, infinite versatility. Same for excavators. They've got hydraulic quick couplers that let you pop off a bucket and snap on a breaker or a grapple in 30 seconds. The boom transfers force efficiently because the attachment is locked solid to the machine, not dangling behind it. Even in factories, you see this logic. Modular tooling systems, standardized hydraulic interfaces. The idea that your power source and your working tools should function as one integrated unit, with fast, repeatable connections. That's Ferguson's hitch echoing through every industry that uses heavy equipment. I'm not saying Ferguson invented all of those things directly, but the design philosophy, the proof that standardization and integration beats brute force, that spread everywhere. So why hasn't anyone replaced this system? It's been almost 100 years. We've got computers, sensors, electric actuators. Why are we still using a mechanical hitch from the 1930s? Simple. It works, and it's bulletproof. There are no complex electronics to fail, no software to crash, just geometry, metal, and hydraulics. You can fix it with basic tools in the middle of nowhere. That matters when you're farming in rural Africa or Asia or South America, where the nearest repair shop might be 100 miles away. It's also cheap. Manufacturing costs are low because the design is simple and the market is huge. Replacement parts are everywhere. If it breaks, you're not waiting weeks for some proprietary component to ship from overseas. And then there's the lock-in effect. ISO standards have been built around this system. Every implement manufacturer designs for it. Every tractor comes with it. Switching to something new would require coordinating an entire global industry to change at once. The cost would be astronomical. And for what? A system that's already proven to work for nearly a century? Engineers have tried electronic hitches, automated systems, all sorts of innovations. And some of them work. But none of them have offered enough of an improvement to justify replacing something that's already this reliable and this universal. Over 99% of tractors worldwide still use a three-point hitch. That's not because farmers are stuck in the past. It's because the system is legitimately that good. This wasn't about building a bigger engine or a heavier machine. It was about understanding the system as a whole and designing something that made power actually usable. That turned something dangerous into something safe. That made something expensive accessible. And that same thinking is why you see modular systems on every job site and factory floor today. Not because someone copied Ferguson's hitch directly, but because he proved a principle. Integration beats isolation. Systems beat components. Now I want to hear from you. What other piece of technology do you think changed entire industries in ways people don't realize? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you haven't already, subscribe because we're doing more of this. Stories about the engineering that actually shaped the world we live in. And seriously, go watch that video on the 15 biggest tractors. You'll see how all of this came together to create the absolute units of modern farming equipment.